Pallab Banerjee, MD of Pearl Global Johnson right now, while they're in the silent period, to talk about this macro theme. Pallab, great having you, and thank you for accepting our request and talking to us today, because it's a very important aspect to focus on. And I know, Pallab, a lot of this is hypothesis, belief, and your experience, but that is what we need today. So let's try and break it down into two aspects. One is the trade war and the trade deals, and then we'll come to the FTA as well. Firstly, the media reports seem to suggest that a lot of inquiries from Western nations, particularly the US manufacturers and retailers, have started to come into Indian manufacturers because of the 245% tariffs on China as they stand. And therefore, even during a usually not so busy first half of the current financial year for Indian companies, the inquiries are strong. Would that be the case, and why would that be the case?
First of all, thank you. Thank you for having me on this call. See, what is happening, China has got extra tariff at this moment, up to 245%, but not for April. I think it's around 100 plus. Whatever the number is, it's quite prohibitive. So naturally, most of the players in US are looking for alternate source of China at this point of time, especially the business that they have placed and these goods that is getting stuck at this point of time because of this tariff. Now, once this dust settles, then we have to see how things really comes up. But for now, as I had mentioned earlier also, like most of the brands from US had moved out of China over the last few years from the direct sourcing. But there are some smaller brands as well as the importers who gets the goods into US and stock the goods and then give it to the retailers. So those players are very, very active in China, and a big number. China was still doing almost about, I think, some 25 to 28 billion dollars of garment exports to US. So that particular segment, they are looking for alternates, and that's where some queries are coming to India as well. The challenge that the Indian manufacturers would face is the cost. This cost that originally these importers were buying from China was very competitive. So, and the ecosystem that China has, they could manage those prices due to various reasons. So that's where the challenge lies. But yes, at this point of time, a lot of queries are floating in India.
So Pallab, so therefore the question is that if costs are a challenge despite the Chinese duties and the ecosystem benefits stay in China, does this $25–28 billion of exports that China was doing to some of the smaller retailers, will Indian companies be able to step up in time to be able to take advantage of this short period? It may be a short period, right, as you said, because I heard you use the term before the dust settles.
Yeah. So two things. One, to manufacture the garment or the apparel, you need the raw materials. Now, where India has a shortcoming is that we don't manufacture all kind of textiles. We have been very strong on the cotton-based textiles, and that's where like it's a win. Definitely, the business that can come from China or from the other countries would get some kind of benefit because we have the raw material and we can do it quickly. The other products, like which is where we have to depend on the raw material from China, that's where the trouble starts. So at this point of time, most of the goods, if you are not sourcing from China, you would be sourcing it from countries like Indonesia or Vietnam or Cambodia, where the raw material can easily flow into those countries and then go to US. Whereas India, the uncompetitiveness because of this availability of raw material and availability of the other infrastructure that we have, especially things like drawbacks, duty drawbacks and all. So which is compensated when we're doing the costing for these various products. So that's where like there is a challenge for India. But in the short run, let's see. What we are hearing is that some of these Chinese players are definitely offering heavy discounts to the US retailers from 10% to 40%, that range. But still, because of this, whatever has happened, just geopolitics or this tariff war, it seems that there are certain possibilities that India can encash upon in the short run. To build up the infrastructure for a longer run uh, would take more actions, I would say.
Mr. Banerjee, hi, very good morning. Tamanna here. Important point you make about the opportunity that exists, but the challenges to actually encash that opportunity. Give us some perspective there. And, you know, for example, from your point of view, would you look at this stage as the chance to build up capacity and to be an alternative to some of those supply chains that China has been servicing? Or why just China? Let's look at Vietnam, let's look at Bangladesh.
So we, specifically if you're asking about Pearl Global, we do have manufacturing, a substantial amount of manufacturing in Bangladesh and Vietnam and Indonesia, apart from India. We also manufacture in Guatemala. So naturally, like the shift that is happening from China, we are definitely, there's a huge benefit that we're getting in these other locations. Vietnam being in the close proximity, Indonesia, again, the kind of handwriting of the product and handling of those synthetic products is much more easier. So that's an immediate short-term benefit that we are experiencing as a company. But that's like specifically for Pearl. If we talk of India, India definitely we had foreseen some kind of challenges that would be coming up and some shift would be happening as the geopolitics has not been recent. It's been developing for quite some time. So we have been building up our capacity. We are ready to expand and can do more. We have to solve these challenges of raw material. Anything to do with Indian raw material, we are up and running. Anything to do with imported raw material, that's where I find still the Bangladesh or a Vietnam or in Indonesia as much more attractive option where we can easily service our customers and take this benefit in the short run as well.
Change with the tariff impact baked in.
So tariff impact means you mean after 9th of July?
Yes. No, what I'm trying to say is after 9th of July, if India has relatively a better deal on tariffs, and for example, you have Vietnam who would see a more detrimental rate of tariffs because that was the state before the pause, right? Vietnam outpaced India in the tariff impact. Would then that skew the situation in favor of India?
On paper, yes. If you talk of only from price point of view or from only tariff point of view, it's definitely attractive. But as I said, like we have to keep in mind the readiness of the industry and the raw material flow. So that's where the shortcoming is, the biggest challenge is. And you see that other factor is the number. US has been always very deep in Vietnam, in countries like Vietnam. As a result, the infrastructure that is there, which exists, can service those kind of product, can use those raw material which is coming out of China, and as well as ship. So naturally, they gain in the last 3 or 4 years. If you look at the kind of substantial gain that has happened for the exodus that has happened from China is in countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh. These are the two countries which has gained the maximum in the apparel sphere. And that's because of the reason that I'm talking about. Bangladesh more so because of cheap labor and the ease of doing business. You can bring in the raw material, produce the garment, and ship it out quickly. So that's the kind of infrastructure that Bangladesh did ramped up in this last 10 years. Vietnam was always has been focused on it. So that's why, like, we saw these two countries really gain that market share. Now is the time that India can do something similar. We need to definitely ease some of these maybe policies and some of the way that we work. The whole ecosystem, if it quickly readjusts itself, we can take a huge benefit.
Pallab, you're almost pouring cold water on this whole theory that people have around how Indian companies will benefit as a result of the Chinese duties, right? You're kind of saying that there might be some benefits, but nothing exemplary.
So yes, I told you again, like anything to do with cotton fabrics where we have the raw material, it's definitely a win.
But not otherwise. Okay. The other aspect is belief that a lot of people have that the India-UK FTA, Free Trade Agreement, will actually be a fairly decent bonanza, if you will, again for Indian manufacturers. Is there merit to that argument?
Again, like, the reality is that India will come more equal to these other countries. Bangladesh already has a duty-free advantage because of LDC status that they have. And that is going to continue till 2029. Because even if it expires in 2026, 3 years of extra, guaranteed period that they have. Same is for Cambodia. Then Vietnam entered into two kind of pacts. One is the comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific partnership, as well as a Vietnam-UK FTA. So these three countries, which are the major garment producers, if you see, already are there. India, we are expecting to be there by the next month. Almost 24 chapters out of 26 have been signed and dusted at this point of time. Small things are left. We are looking forward to it. Again, the immediate benefit, whatever we are losing out because of this cost competitiveness, which was not there compared to these countries, we will have that now. So suddenly, like, we get that extra 10% advantage. So yes, at this point of time, if you look at UK does import about 25 billion dollars, I think, few years back. It had dropped because of the US slowdown. The UK economy slowdown over the last few years. I think it's still just below 20 at this point of time. So $20 billion, India does about, I think, 5 to 6% of that number. So that number, we are looking forward to a bump up, a significant rise, which is maybe it can become 30, 40, 50% more immediately. So that's an advantage that India will definitely get.
Okay. In which case, you are effectively saying, Pallab, that while there will be an immediate 10% benefit to maybe, let's say, EBITDA or bottom lines, but not necessarily on revenue, because it only brings India at par with the other countries. So yes, it's a benefit for companies to get extra 10%, but for incremental sales to come up, a lot of other factors need to change, even when it comes to the India-UK FTA, or for that matter, the benefits that come in from higher tariffs on China and other countries.
So just to clarify, this for a cotton garment, I think we get about 9.6% tariff that an importer has to pay in UK if they're taking it from India, which they don't have to pay if they're taking it from these other countries. So that makes it India more attractive. They would come with some more business to India as well. So it's not only the bottom line, but the attraction towards India, because certain products, let's say typical cotton product, a cotton shirt. Now, if this shirt is made in India and lands in UK, they have to pay a 9.6% duty. But if the same shirt is made out of Bangladesh or Vietnam, then they don't pay that duty. So naturally, they would, at this point of time, they were sourcing it from only Cambodia or a Bangladesh. Now, India opens up for that. Now, Indian manufacturers, like if we compete on the prices of Bangladesh and Cambodia, we have a much more stronger hand to compete and gain more business. So both, there will be bottom line benefit for the product that we're already shipping, as well as this additional business that we can bring into India. But we will have the shortcoming in terms of those synthetics and other products.
Let's talk about what we need to do, Mr. Banerjee. I mean, apart from companies investing in capex, etc., what is the policy push that you need? We have a PM Mitra scheme, and we have a PLI, etc. All of that is happening. But what do we need to do to strike while the iron is hot as a nation?
So one thing, like I could talk about what we have been doing. We have opened up our factories in the eastern part of India, places like Bihar, Odisha, and all these places, so that our cost competitiveness to a country like Bangladesh is better compared to the industry, which have been more focused on the metropolitan cities of Bangalore or Karnataka in general, or let's say Gurgaon, this NCR region. Tirupur, some of the locations where the garment or urban industry has really developed. So that has to diversify. One of our biggest challenge have been the turnover of the workforce. It has been because the workers or the laborers have got much more options in India compared to a country like Bangladesh or Cambodia to work for. So as the industry moves to this region where the workers are from, rather than coming workers, a Bihari worker or a Odisha worker going to Karnataka or Tamil Nadu to work, if the industry can develop in those regions and government can support that, that's a huge advantage, I think, which is happening now in India. And PM Mitra is one such program that we are coming up with. At the same time, certain policies of import-exports, like so that the kind of benefits that can easily give us those quick wins, we can look at. Also, the final lines in these trade FTAs that will be done. That means what are the raw material sources, what kind of restrictions are there. So, for example, like when you talk about this comprehensive Trans-Pacific Pact, so they have certain conditions that the goods have to be, like for Vietnam, the goods have to be from the Korea or the Asian region or some of these limitations. Similarly, what kind of FTA that we're signing with the UK, where should be these raw materials from? Is it open or is it closed to only India region? Those things also will play an important role. As I said, like industry, to have this variety of raw materials, India is lacking at this point of time. So that we need to also quickly come up. So there have been PLIs, but things have been slow. It has to really move fast now because I think in 2025, we are seeing the whole world order is changing in terms of the trade blocks or the groupism that is going to happen across the globe. So we need to encash upon those in India.
Exactly. We need to strike when the iron is hot, and I hope this is an opportunity we will not waste. Thank you so much, Pallab Banerjee, for speaking to us this morning.